Statement. Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, with permission and with thanks to you for allowing me to do so at this late hour, I wish to make a statement to update the House on today's US operation and on yesterday's Coalition of the Willing summit in Paris. Today, the US conducted a military operation to intercept the motor vessel Bella 1 in the North Atlantic on its way to Russia. The UK, at the request of the US, supported this operation as part of global efforts to crack down on sanctions busting and shadow shipping activity. The Bella 1 was falsely flagged. It was falsely flagged and subject to US counter-Iran sanctions. The vessel refused to comply with the US's exercise of its sanctions jurisdiction on the 20th of December, after which the US Coast Guard vessel Monroe pursued the ship across the Atlantic. This is a sanctioned, stateless vessel which carries a long history of nefarious activity and shares close links with both Iran and Russia. Following a request from the US, I authorised the use of UK bases and the deployment of Royal Navy and RAF assets to support the operation, including airborne surveillance and the RFA ship Tide Force. This was a US operation. No UK personnel took part in the boarding. And I can update the House, Mr. Speaker, the operation is ongoing, but the Bella 1 is now under the control of US forces who demonstrated immense courage and professionalism in dangerous and deteriorating Atlantic Sea conditions. A stateless vessel, Mr. Speaker, may be lawfully intercepted and subjected to the law of the interdicting state. The US's enforcement action was based upon counter-Iran sanctions aimed at stopping Iran from fueling instability through the profits of illegal oil sales. The UK supported this action to achieve three objectives. First, to enforce counter-Iran sanctions. Second, to tackle the global security threat posed by expanding shadowy maritime activity. And third, to reinforce British homeland defence and security in this era of rising threats. Mr. Speaker, let me expand. First, in 2024, this vessel was sanctioned by the US and subjected to a seizure warrant for illegally transporting Iranian oil. It reflagged 5 times in the last 5 years and was falsely flying the Guyana ensign when it was intercepted by the US. Over a 4-year period, reports suggest that this vessel moved some 7.3 million barrels of Iranian crude oil, the proceeds of which have used to finance terrorism, threat and instability across the world. And the Iranian regime continues to export violence across the region through its proxies and its partners, including Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis and Iraqi militias. It maintains support for Russia by supplying Putin with weapons for his brutal invasion of Ukraine, including the Shahid mass drones and missiles which target and kill Ukrainian civilians. And it is telling, of course, that this vessel, in an attempt to evade the seizure warrant, changed its name and tried to adopt the Russian flag. Second, Mr. Speaker, the UK also supported this military operation to counter the expanding global security threat. The vessel is part of an increasing web of shadow shipping that fuels and funds instability across the world, that undermines global trade, and that threatens our national security. We know Russia operates a vast shadow fleet of its own to bankroll its illegal invasion of Ukraine. And last year, it's estimated that Russia sold $100 billion worth of sanctioned oil, money directly funding attacks on Ukrainian citizens, such as the onslaught during Christmas, involving 600 missiles and drones, which killed at least 3 people. We owe it to the Ukrainians to step up action on these shadow operations. And we are. This is why we're deterring, we're disrupting, we're degrading the Russian shadow fleet as a priority for this government. And to date, we've imposed sanctions on 544 vessels. According to estimates, sanctions against the shadow fleet by the UK and our partners have forced 200 ships off the seas, almost half of the Russia shadow fleet's overall capacity. While Russia's critical oil revenues are now down 27% compared to October in 2024. This is the lowest since the start of its full-scale invasion. So let me speak plainly, Mr. Speaker. The UK will not stand by as malign activity increases on the high seas, and alongside our allies, we are stepping up our response against shadow vessels, and we will continue to do so. Following a request from the US, I authorised the use of UK bases and the deployment of Royal Navy and RAF assets to support the operation, including airborne surveillance and the RFA ship Tide Force. This was a US operation. No UK personnel took part in the boarding.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I thank the Secretary of State for his statement and pay tribute to the role of the Royal Navy and RAF personnel in taking out this rogue tanker flying under the flag of a rogue nation. The Bella 1 was taken just a few hundred miles out into the Atlantic, which is too close for comfort if you come from the Western Isles. And I understand Stornoway and Benbecula Airport hosted USAF aircraft, Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft out of Stornoway and 2 V-22 Ospreys out of Benbecula. Can the Minister give us more details on the role of Scottish airports in this operation? And does he agree with me that, yes, we have a front line in the Donbass, but the front line for us against Russia is our backyard, the wild North Atlantic?
Secretary of State.
Madam Deputy Speaker, thank you for your encouragement for short questions and short answers. My honourable friend is right on both accounts. Part of the British and European front line is in the Donbass. He's equally right that part of the front line for this nation and for NATO is the North Atlantic. And I am proud of the way that Scotland makes such a considerable contribution to the security of this country. And I'm proud of the way that part of the basing that was important for the US operation was indeed also in Scotland.